Burn the someday calendar. You have a secret calendar hanging in your mind. It is not made of paper but of promises you keep pushing to later. Every time you say, "Someday I will start that business," you mark another day on that invisible calendar. Every time you whisper, "Someday I will write that book," you add another month to a date that never comes. This calendar feels safe because it asks nothing from you today. But it is actually the most dangerous thing you own because it steals your life one postponed dream at a time. The truth is that someday is not a day of the week, and it never will be. So let me ask you, are you ready to burn it to the ground? This book is not about gentle planning or careful goal setting. It is about fire, action, and the beautiful mess of starting before you feel ready. You will not find complicated charts or perfect timelines here because those things often become new cages for your dreams. Instead, you will find small, bold moves that you can make before breakfast tomorrow. The chapters ahead will challenge you to stop hiding behind the word later and to step into the scary, exciting land of now. Some ideas will make you uncomfortable because they ask you to fail loudly and learn quickly. But that discomfort is the feeling of your someday calendar catching flames. So take a breath, get a little angry at all the time you have wasted waiting, and let us light the first match together. Chapter 1: The Great Someday Lie. The word someday feels soft and kind when you say it to yourself. It feels like a warm blanket that protects you from the pressure of doing hard things right now. But that blanket slowly becomes a trap that you cannot escape from. When you tell yourself you will start exercising someday, your muscles stay weak for another month. When you promise to call an old friend someday, your connection fades into silence. The problem is that someday never appears on any real calendar you can touch. It does not have a date, a time, or a deadline that you must meet. So your brain treats it like a vacation that you will take eventually but never pack for. This is the great lie that keeps millions of people feeling stuck and disappointed with their lives. Think about every goal you have said someday to in the past 5 years. How many of those dreams have actually happened without you taking real action? The answer is probably close to zero because wishes do not build anything sturdy. You can wish for a garden all you want, but no tomato grows from just hopping. The same rule applies to your career, your relationships, your health, and your creativity. Someday is not a plan but a polite way of saying, not important enough to do today. This truth hurts to hear because it means you have been lying to yourself for a long time. But that pain is actually good news because now you see the trap clearly. And once you see a trap, you can finally stop walking right into it. Look closely at the people you admire who have built amazing lives. Did they get there by waiting for perfect conditions or by taking messy action early? Every successful artist started with bad drawings that nobody saw. Every rich business owner began with awkward sales calls that made them want to hide. The difference between them and everyone else is that they never trusted the word someday. They knew that waiting for confidence is like waiting for a car to move before you put gas in it. So they moved first, felt scared second, and learned to fix things along the way. You have the same ability to move first even when your hands are shaking. The only thing stopping you is a 6-letter word that deserves to be burned. Let me ask you a hard question that might sting a little bit. How many somedays have you already used up in your life without realizing it? If you are 30 years old, you have probably said someday to at least one dream every single week since you were a teenager. That adds up to hundreds of dreams that never left your head and entered the real world. Each one of those lost dreams left behind a tiny scar of regret that you carry without noticing. Those scars are not your fault because nobody taught you how dangerous someday can be. But now you know the truth, and knowing the truth means you have a choice to make. You can keep collecting invisible scars, or you can grab a match and change everything starting today. The good news is that burning your someday calendar does not require massive courage or special skills. It only requires that you stop treating your future self like a superhero who will fix everything. Your future self is exactly the same person you are right now, just older and more tired. That person does not have more willpower, more time, or more energy than you have today. So when you say, "I will do it later," you are actually bullying your future self unfairly. Imagine how angry you would feel if someone kept giving you their homework to finish. That is exactly what you do every time you choose someday over today. Stop being cruel to the person you will become and start being kind by acting now. Here is your first small mission before you finish reading this chapter. Pick one tiny thing that you have been saving for someday and do it in the next hour. Not the whole dream, just one small piece that takes less than 5 minutes. If you want to write a book, open a blank page and type one silly sentence right now. If you want to start a business, write down 3 names of people who might buy from you. If you want to get fit, put on your shoes and stand outside your front door for 10 seconds. This action will feel silly and too small to matter, but that is exactly the point. You are proving to your brain that someday is a liar and that now is actually possible. Light that first match and watch how good the tiny flame feels. Chapter 2. Find your spark, not just your goals. Most self-help books tell you to set big goals and chase them like a hunter chasing a deer. But that advice often fails because goals without a spark feel like homework you never wanted to do. A spark is that thing that makes you forget to eat because you are having so much fun. It is the activity that makes time disappear, and your heart feels strangely full afterward. Many people set goals that look good on paper but feel dead inside their chests. They want to get promoted or lose weight because they think they should want those things. But a should never has the same power as a genuine spark that comes from deep inside you. So before you burn your someday calendar, you need to find what actually lights you on fire. Think back to when you were a child before anyone told you what you should become. What did you do for hours without anyone asking you to do it? Did you build forts, draw monsters, argue with friends, or take things apart to see how they worked? Those childhood passions are clues to your real spark because they came from pure joy, not pressure. Somewhere along the way, adults probably told you to be practical and stop wasting time on those things. But practical thinking is exactly what leads to a someday calendar full of boring, lifeless goals. You do not need more practical advice because you already have enough of that from everyone around you. What you need is permission to follow what excites you, even if it seems silly or unprofitable at first. The difference between a spark and a regular goal is how you feel when you imagine doing it. A goal makes you think about the reward at the end, like money, praise, or a trophy on your shelf. A spark makes you excited about the process itself, not just what you get when you finish. Writing a book to become famous is a goal that will feel miserable on the hard days. Writing a book because you love playing with words is a spark that carries you through the rough drafts. Starting a business to get rich is a goal that dies when money gets tight for a few months. Starting a business because you love solving a certain problem is a spark that keeps you curious and alive. You want the second one because it never runs out of fuel the way goals do. Many people say they do not know what their spark is because they have ignored it for too long. But that is like saying you do not know what food you like after eating bland oatmeal every day for years. Your spark has been sending you quiet signals that you have learned to dismiss as unrealistic or childish. Maybe you feel a little buzz of energy when you see someone dancing well on social media. Maybe you get lost reading about space or ocean animals even though you work in an office. Maybe you feel jealous when a friend starts a podcast because part of you wants to do that too. Jealousy is actually a powerful clue because it shows you what you secretly want for yourself. Pay attention to what makes your stomach flutter or your eyes light up without warning. Here is an exercise that feels strange but works better than you might expect. For the next 7 days, say yes to every small curiosity that pops into your head as long as it is safe. If you wonder what it feels like to write with your left hand, do it for 2 minutes right away. If you feel curious about drawing a cartoon cat, grab any pen and try it badly on a napkin. If you want to know how a coffee shop works, ask the owner if you can watch for 15 minutes. Do not judge whether these actions are useful or smart or likely to make you money. Just follow the tiny sparks like a child following fireflies into the dark. By the end of the week, you will have a list of things that wake up your energy. And that list is the raw material for burning your someday calendar forever. Your spark does not have to become your full-time job or your life's purpose. That kind of pressure kills joy faster than anything else you can do to yourself. Your spark can simply be the thing you do for 30 minutes each morning before the world asks you to be serious. It can be the hobby that makes you feel like yourself again after a long week at a draining job. The magic is that following a spark, even a little bit, changes how you see everything else. You become braver, more curious, and less willing to settle for a life full of boring some days. So stop asking what goal you should chase and start asking what makes you lose track of time. That answer is your match, and your someday calendar is finally about to get very warm. Chapter 3. Rip the month names off. Traditional calendars trick you into thinking that time comes in neat packages called months and years. But real life does not care about these packages because change happens in hours, not in neat little boxes. When you look at a calendar with month names, your brain automatically relaxes because it sees plenty of empty spaces ahead. You tell yourself that you will start your new habit in March, which feels far away and safe. But March comes exactly as fast as February leaves, and you are never as ready as you imagined. The solution is to rip the month names off your mental calendar and start thinking in much smaller chunks. You do not need a new year to change your life because every single morning is a new beginning. The only reason you wait for Mondays or January 1st is that you are scared to start today. Think about how you feel on December 31st compared to January 1st. On New Year's Eve, you feel excited and full of hope for all the changes coming soon. On January 2nd, you often feel tired and less motivated because the magic date has already passed. This happens because you gave all your power to a number on a calendar instead of keeping it for yourself. The people who actually achieve their dreams do not wait for special dates to begin their work. They start on Tuesday afternoons and Thursday mornings and rainy Sundays in July. They know that the first day of anything is just the day you finally decide to move your feet. So stop telling yourself that you need a fresh week, a fresh month, or a fresh year. You need a fresh 5 minutes, and you can have that right now without any special ceremony. Your brain loves the idea of a fresh start because it feels like forgiveness for past failures. When you say, "I will start on Monday," you are really saying, "I forgive myself for not starting today." This forgiveness feels good for a moment, but it actually trains you to keep procrastinating forever. Each time you push a start date forward, you teach your brain that your promises do not matter much. Imagine if a friend kept promising to meet you, but always changed the day at the last minute. You would stop believing that friend and stop feeling excited to see them at all. That is exactly how your own mind feels about you when you keep choosing later over now. You have been breaking promises to yourself for so long that your brain does not trust you anymore. Rebuilding that trust starts with one tiny action taken on a completely ordinary day with no special meaning. Here is a powerful shift that changes everything once you truly believe it. Today is not a practice day for the real life that starts tomorrow or next season. Today is the only day you will ever actually live because tomorrow never arrives as a today. When you wake up tomorrow morning, it will feel exactly like this morning feels right now. You will have the same fears, the same excuses, and the same desire to wait for a better moment. So waiting for a better moment is like waiting for water to stop being wet before you learn to swim. The only difference between today and any magical future day is that today you have the chance to act. Future you will have the same fears, but also the extra weight of regret for waiting longer. Choose to be the person who acts on a random Tuesday because that person gets to live a whole different life. Think about one small dream that you have been saving for a special occasion to begin. Maybe you want to learn guitar but keep waiting until you have more free time next season. Maybe you want to ask someone on a date but keep waiting for the perfect romantic moment to appear. Maybe you want to start a YouTube channel but keep waiting until you have better equipment or more confidence. None of those special moments will ever feel special enough because your fear will always raise the bar higher. The guitar learner who starts today with a borrowed instrument will surpass the person who buys a perfect guitar next year. The date asker who says something awkward today will learn faster than someone waiting for the stars to align. The YouTuber who records a terrible video today will have experience, while the perfect planner still has nothing but ideas. Rip the month names off and see that every single day is equally good for beginning something new. Your final test for this chapter is to find something you plan to start next month and move it to today. Look at your mental list of things I will do when I have more time and pick the smallest one. It could be cleaning one drawer, writing one paragraph, or sending one scary email you have avoided. Do not try to do the whole project because that would overwhelm you and prove nothing. Just take one piece of that someday dream and do it in the next 30 minutes without any preparation. Notice how it feels to act on a random day with no ceremony or hype around you. You will probably feel a little nervous and a little proud, and a little confused about why you waited so long. That mix of feelings is the exact feeling of tearing month names off your calendar. Enjoy it, and then do it again tomorrow on another completely ordinary day. Chapter 4. The 5-minute rule that beats fear. Fear is the main reason your someday calendar stays full and your real life stays empty. You tell yourself that you will start when you feel less afraid, but that day never seems to come at all. Fear does not leave on its own because it is trying to protect you from possible embarrassment or failure. The mistake is thinking that you must defeat fear before you can take action toward your dreams. In reality, fear and action can walk side by side like two uncomfortable friends on a long trip. The trick is to make your action so small that fear does not bother to show up at all. That is where the 5-minute rule comes in to save you from years of waiting and wishing. You promise to do something for only 5 minutes, and then you are allowed to stop completely if you want. The 5-minute rule works because your brain sees 5 minutes as no threat at all. Even your biggest fears cannot argue against trying something for the length of one short song on the radio. You might be terrified of writing a book, but you can probably write 3 sentences in 5 minutes. You might be scared of starting a workout routine, but you can stretch your arms for 5 minutes right now. You might be afraid of having a hard conversation, but you can write down 5 words you want to say. The fear stays in the room with you, but it sits quietly in the corner like a bored guard dog. After 5 minutes pass, something magical happens because you usually want to keep going for a bit longer. The hardest part was starting, and now you are already moving with the momentum on your side. Think about all the times you spent more than 5 minutes worrying about doing something hard. You have probably wasted hours imagining how badly a conversation could go or how silly you might look. Those hours of worrying did not help you at all because they only made the fear grow bigger and stronger. Meanwhile, 5 minutes of actual action would have shown you that the fear was lying about the danger. Most things you are afraid to do are not actually dangerous like a tiger standing in your kitchen. They are just uncomfortable, awkward, or slightly embarrassing, which are feelings that will not kill you. The 5-minute rule helps you see the difference between real danger and silly fear that you can ignore. You learn that you can feel scared and still move your hands and feet toward what matters to you. Here is how you apply the 5-minute rule to any dream that has been stuck in someday land for too long. First, identify the smallest possible action that moves you forward even one tiny step toward your goal. Second, set a timer on your phone for exactly 5 minutes so you know there is an end in sight. Third, promise yourself that you can stop forever when the timer rings if you truly want to stop. Fourth, start the timer and do the small action while noticing how your fear feels compared to before. Fifth, when the timer rings, check in with yourself to see if you want to do another 5 minutes. Most people find that the fear has shrunk a little, and the action feels easier than they expected. Sixth, celebrate the fact that you just did something you have been avoiding, no matter how small it seemed. You have just burned one day off your someday calendar, and the fire is just getting started. The beautiful secret about the 5-minute rule is that it works for almost any kind of fear you face. Are you afraid of making phone calls to schedule appointments? Try calling just one person and stay on the line for 5 minutes max. Are you afraid of posting your art online where people might criticize it? Post one small piece and close the app for 5 minutes afterward. Are you afraid of asking your boss for a raise because rejection hurts? Write down 3 sentences you want to say and practice them alone for 5 minutes. The fear does not vanish completely, but it loses its power to freeze you in place like a statue. You become someone who feels fear and then takes a tiny step anyway because 5 minutes is nothing. Over time, your brain learns that fear is just a feeling, not a stop sign that you must obey. You start reaching for the 5-minute rule automatically whenever you notice someday creeping back into your thoughts. Your challenge for this chapter is to use the 5-minute rule on 3 different days this week. Choose 3 things that have been living on your someday calendar for at least 1 month each. They can be as small as organizing one shelf or as big as writing the first page of a business plan. The size does not matter because 5 minutes of anything is better than 0 minutes of everything. On the first day, do your 5 minutes and then allow yourself to feel proud and also a little ridiculous. On the second day, notice how much easier it is to start because you already proved you could survive. On the third day, try to smile while you do your 5 minutes because you are becoming a different person. That person is someone who does not wait for fear to leave but acts kindly alongside it instead. Burn the someday calendar one 5-minute match at a time until nothing is left but warm, proud ashes. Chapter 5. Build a messy first step. Most people never start their dreams because they believe the first step must be beautiful and correct. They imagine that successful people began with polished work that looked impressive from day one. This belief is completely false and has stopped more dreams than failure ever could in human history. The truth is that every master was once a disaster who showed up and made ugly things anyway. Your favorite musician probably made terrible songs that nobody heard for years before their first hit. Your favorite author wrote awful pages that will never see the light of any bookshelf anywhere. The difference between them and everyone else is that they did not let ugly work stop them. They understood that messy first steps are not a problem to fix but a stage to pass through. Think about how a baby learns to walk without any shame about falling on its bottom constantly. That baby does not wait until its form is perfect before taking the first shaky step forward. That baby does not compare itself to Olympic runners and decide that walking is hopeless and stupid. The baby just stands up, falls down, cries a little, and then stands up again without overthinking. This is exactly how you learned every skill you currently have, from talking to reading to riding a bike. But somewhere along the way, you started believing that adults must be perfect before they try anything new. That belief is a lie that keeps you safe from embarrassment, but also keeps you trapped in someday. You need to become a beginner again and fall down proudly while everyone watches you try. The desire to make a perfect first step often hides a secret fear of being seen as average or dumb. You worry that if you show messy work, people will judge you and confirm your worst fears about yourself. But here is a liberating truth that might change your whole perspective on this problem. Most people are far too busy worrying about their own messy steps to judge yours very much. The few people who do criticize you are usually the ones who never try anything themselves at all. Their criticism is not about you, but about their own fear of looking foolish if they attempted something. So why would you let people who do nothing stop you from doing something that matters to you? A messy first step is 1,000 times more valuable than a perfect plan that never becomes real. You can fix messy, but you cannot fix nothing because nothing is just empty space where a dream used to be. Here is a practical way to make your first step messy on purpose so you stop expecting perfection. Take whatever dream you have been saving and ask yourself what the ugliest possible version of it looks like. If you want to start a podcast, record one episode on your phone with background noise and bad sound quality. If you want to write a book, write a chapter that makes no sense and has spelling errors everywhere. If you want to paint, buy the cheapest paints and make something that looks like a toddler drew it. The goal is not to create something good but to break the spell of perfection that has frozen you. Once you have made something ugly, You have officially started, and starting is the only hard part. From there, you can make it slightly less ugly tomorrow, and then even better the day after. But you cannot get to better until you get through bad, so embrace the bad with open arms today. Many people worry that messy work will ruin their reputation or make them look unprofessional forever. But think about every person you admire and try to remember their earliest work from years ago. Unless you are a super fan who studies their history, you probably have no idea what their early stuff looked like. The world remembers your best work, not your first work, because nobody cares about your messy beginnings. Your first blog post will be forgotten as soon as you write a better one next week. Your first business sale will be old news after you make 10 more sales the following month. Your first painting will be hidden under layers of better paint that you add later as you improve. The fear of looking bad is just your ego trying to protect a perfect image that nobody else is watching anyway. Let go of that image and let yourself be a beginner, because beginners are the only people who ever become experts. Your messy first step mission is to create something ugly today and share it with at least one person. That person could be a friend who loves you, a family member who supports you, or an online group of strangers. The sharing part is crucial because hiding your messy work keeps the fear of judgment alive and powerful. When you share something ugly and the world does not end, you learn that judgment cannot hurt you much. You might even find that people respect your courage more than they judge your lack of skill. Many successful people say that their earliest ugly work got them their biggest supporters and fans. Those supporters saw bravery and potential, not polish and perfection, in the messy first steps. So go make something wonderfully awful today and watch how free you feel afterward. That feeling of freedom is the smell of your someday calendar burning to nothing but joyful ashes. Chapter 6. Paper Cuts from the Calendar. Your someday calendar does not just steal your dreams quietly in the night without you noticing. It also gives you tiny painful cuts every single day that you barely feel at first. Each time you say, "I will do it later," you get a small paper cut on your self-trust. Each time you see someone else achieve what you have been saving for someday, another tiny cut appears. These cuts do not bleed, but they leave invisible scars that change how you see yourself over time. You start to believe that you are not a person who finishes things or follows through on promises. You start to believe that your dreams are just nice ideas that are not really meant for you. This belief becomes a heavy blanket that makes it harder to move every single day. The paper cuts from your calendar show up in sneaky ways that you might not recognize at first glance. You feel a little tired when you think about your goals instead of feeling excited and curious. You start new hobbies, but drop them quickly because you expect yourself to fail anyway. You feel jealous of friends who are making progress while you stay in the same place year after year. You avoid looking at your old journals because they are full of dreams you never even tried to start. You tell new people that you used to want to do something, but now you are more realistic. Each of these signs is a paper cut that has slowly changed your identity without your permission. You have been bleeding belief in yourself for so long that you forgot how strong you used to feel. The good news is that paper cuts heal quickly once you stop getting new ones every single day. You can stop the bleeding by simply keeping one small promise to yourself starting right now. Choose something tiny that you know you can do, like drinking a glass of water or making your bed. Do that thing and notice how it feels to keep a promise to yourself without any drama or celebration. That small feeling is the beginning of healing all those tiny cuts that have been hurting you. Each promise you keep adds a little bandage that covers an old wound and lets it rest. Over time, your self-trust grows back stronger than before because you have new evidence of your reliability. You become someone who does what they say they will do, at least in small ways, and that changes everything. Think about the difference between how you feel after breaking a promise to yourself versus keeping one. When you break a promise, you feel a little heavier, a little more tired, and a little less hopeful. When you keep a promise, even a silly small one, you feel a little lighter and more capable. This happens because your brain is always watching you and learning what to expect from your behavior. If you constantly break promises, your brain learns not to take your goals seriously at all. If you constantly keep promises, your brain learns that when you decide something, it will probably happen. You can use this knowledge to rebuild your self-trust from the ground up without any massive effort. Just start with promises so easy that breaking them would be harder than keeping them quietly. Things like putting your shoes in the same place every night or drinking water when you wake up. Here is a powerful exercise that heals paper cuts faster than anything else I have found. For the next 30 days, make and keep one tiny promise to yourself before noon each day. Write the promise down on a small piece of paper or in a note on your phone so you cannot forget it. The promise must be so easy that you feel a little silly writing it down like a serious goal. Examples include texting one friend back, washing 3 dishes, or walking to your mailbox and back. Do not make the promise about your big dreams because those come later after trust is rebuilt. Just prove to yourself, day after day, that you are someone who keeps small promises reliably. By day 10, you will notice a strange lightness in your chest that was not there before. By day 30, your paper cuts will have healed enough that you can start reaching for bigger promises safely. The final lesson about paper cuts is that they are not your fault, but they are your responsibility to heal. You did not choose to learn that someday is an acceptable answer to your dreams and desires. Society taught you that waiting is wise and that rushing is foolish for people who want to be safe. But now you know that waiting has been cutting you slowly while pretending to protect you from failure. You can choose to stop the bleeding today by taking one small action that you have been avoiding. That action will not fix everything, but it will be the first bandage on a wound that has been open too long. Each bandage adds up until one day you realize you feel whole again and ready to run. Run toward the dreams that used to give you paper cuts, but now give you energy instead. Burn the calendar that hurt you and watch how quickly your skin grows back strong and new. Chapter 7. Your week, not your year. Planning for an entire year feels good for about 1 hour after you finish writing your big goals down. Then reality hits you, and you realize that a year is too far away to feel real or urgent. Your brain treats next December like a science fiction movie that happens to someone else far from you. This is why most New Year's resolutions die by January 15th without much drama or surprise. The solution is to shrink your planning window from a year down to just one single week. A week is short enough to feel real but long enough to actually get meaningful things done. When you plan your week, you cannot hide behind vague promises because Friday comes fast and asks for receipts. Your week is the perfect container for burning your someday calendar one small fire at a time. Think about what you can actually control when you look at the next 7 days ahead of you. You cannot control what happens in November because that is too far away to predict or influence much. You cannot control what your boss or your family will do 6 months from now in the future. But you can control what you do between this Monday and the Sunday that follows right after. You can decide which 3 small actions will move you closer to your dreams in the next 7 days. You can look at your schedule and find the hidden pockets of time that you usually waste without thinking. You can set tiny deadlines that feel exciting instead of terrifying because they are only days away. This is the difference between people who achieve things and people who just dream about achieving things. The achievers plan in weeks, and the dreamers plan in years that never seem to arrive. Here is how to plan your week in a way that actually works without feeling like homework. Take a blank piece of paper or a notes app and write down the next 7 days in a simple list. Next to each day, write one small action that moves you toward a dream you have been saving for someday. These actions should take no more than 30 minutes so you cannot make excuses about having no time. For Monday, you might write 3 sentences of that story I keep talking about. For Tuesday, you might write watch one beginner video about the skill I want to learn. For Wednesday, you might write send one email to someone who could help me with my goal. The actions do not have to connect perfectly or make a complete plan from start to finish. They just have to be real things you can touch and finish before the week ends. That is it. No complex systems, no color-coded charts, No feeling like you are failing before you start. The magic of weekly planning is that you get to celebrate success every 7 days without waiting forever. When you plan for a year, you might not feel any progress until you are 6 months in and exhausted. But with weekly planning, every Friday night you can look back and see what you actually did. You might have written only 3 sentences, watched 1 video, and sent 1 email all week long. That sounds tiny, but it is infinitely more than the 0 you would have done without a weekly plan. Those tiny actions add up to 30 sentences, 10 videos, and 10 emails after just 10 weeks. And after 10 weeks, you are no longer someone who talks about someday because you have actual proof of work. The proof does not have to be impressive to anyone else, just to you, the person who used to wait. You are becoming someone who moves weekly, and moving weekly changes everything about your identity and your future. Many people worry that weekly planning is too boring or too small to make a real difference in their lives. They want the excitement of a big launch, a huge transformation, or a dramatic before and after story. But big transformations are just collections of small weekly actions that happen in the same direction. Every book you have ever read was written 1 weekly chapter at a time without the author noticing the big picture. Every business you have ever loved was built 1 weekly customer at a time over months of small efforts. Every healthy body you have ever admired was shaped 1 weekly workout at a time when nobody was watching. The people who look like they changed overnight actually changed slowly, and then revealed their work all at once. Weekly planning is not boring because boring things are the only things that actually work in real life. Excitement fades, but a simple weekly habit can carry you through years of steady progress toward anything you want. Your challenge for this chapter is to plan your next 7 days before you go to sleep tonight. Do not wait for Monday morning or the 1st of the month because that is your someday calendar talking again. Grab your phone or a scrap of paper right now and write down the next 7 days in a row. Next to each day, write 1 tiny action that relates to a dream you have been ignoring for too long. Keep the actions so small that you feel almost embarrassed to call them goals at all. Then put the paper somewhere you will see it every morning when you wake up to start your day. Each evening, check off the action you completed and feel a small spark of pride in your chest. At the end of the week, look at your 7 check marks and notice how different you feel. You have just burned 1 week off your someday calendar, and there are 52 matches left this year alone. Chapter 8: The Friend Who Keeps You Burning. Trying to burn your someday calendar all alone is possible, but much harder than it needs to be. Your brain is very good at talking you out of actions when nobody else is watching what you do. You tell yourself that you will start tomorrow, and there is no one to call you out on the lie. You feel tired and decide to skip your small action, and nobody ever knows the difference. This is why almost every successful person has at least one friend who helps them stay accountable. An accountability friend is not a boss who yells at you or makes you feel bad about yourself. An accountability friend is someone who cares about your dreams and checks in without judgment or pressure. They hold a gentle mirror up to your actions, so you cannot hide from yourself so easily. Finding the right accountability friend matters more than you might think when you first start looking. You do not want a friend who will let you off the hook every time you make a small excuse. But you also do not want a friend who makes you feel ashamed or guilty when you struggle to act. The perfect accountability friend is someone who believes in you, but also expects you to tell the truth kindly. They should be working on their own dreams so you can share progress and setbacks with each other fairly. They do not need to have the same goals as you because different dreams still need the same kind of support. They just need to be reliable, honest, and willing to spend 5 minutes checking in each week. This person could be a current friend, a family member, or someone you meet in an online group. The important thing is that you both agree to help each other burn your separate someday calendars together. Here is exactly how to set up an accountability friendship that works without becoming annoying. First, ask someone directly if they would like to be accountability partners for the next 30 days. Second, agree on a simple system like texting each other 3 goals each week on Monday morning. Third, Agree to check in on Friday afternoon to share what actually got done during the week. Fourth, promise that you will never lie or hide your results because that defeats the whole purpose of the system. Fifth, agree that it is okay to have weeks where you do nothing, as long as you are honest about it. Sixth, decide together what kind of encouragement helps each of you when you are feeling stuck or scared. Seventh, celebrate each other's wins no matter how small because small wins are the only kind that exist. Eighth, thank each other after each check-in so the friendship feels good instead of like a chore. The magic of accountability is not that you will never fail or miss your goals at all. The magic is that failing in front of someone else feels different than failing alone in the dark. When you fail alone, you can pretend it did not happen and push the dream further into someday land forever. When you fail in front of a friend, you have to look at the failure and talk about why it happened. That conversation often reveals that your excuses were not as solid as you thought they were in your head. You might realize that you had time but chose to scroll on your phone instead of doing your action. You might realize that you were scared and used busyness as a cover for avoiding the hard thing. Your friend can help you see these patterns without shame because they probably do the same things themselves. Together, you become detectives solving the mystery of why you keep choosing someday instead of now. Many people avoid accountability because they feel ashamed of how little they have accomplished so far. They think they need to get their act together first before they ask anyone to check on their progress. This is exactly backwards because the shame is the reason you need accountability more than anyone else does. The shame grows in darkness and silence where nobody sees your struggles or offers you help. When you bring a friend into your process, the shame loses its power because it is no longer secret. You might tell your friend, "I did nothing this week," and discover that they also did nothing sometimes too. That shared honesty turns shame into a joke you can both laugh about while you try again next week. You are not looking for a friend to judge you, but to witness you trying, failing, and trying again. That witness turns your private someday calendar into a shared adventure that feels much lighter and more fun. Your mission for this chapter is to identify one person you could ask to be your accountability friend. Write down their name somewhere you will see it so you do not forget to actually ask them. Then send them a short message explaining what you are trying to do with your someday calendar. Tell them you are not asking for advice or coaching, just a simple weekly check-in about small actions. Ask if they would be willing to try this for just 4 weeks together as an experiment between friends. If they say yes, celebrate because you just made it twice as likely that you will burn your calendar. If they say no, thank them anyway and ask a different person until someone says yes. Most people feel honored that you trust them enough to ask for this kind of help from them. And once you have a friend keeping you burning, your someday calendar does not stand a chance at all. Chapter 9. Ash Analysis, Not Failure Files. Most people treat failure like a dangerous disease that must be hidden and never spoken about again. They feel ashamed when a plan does not work and quickly bury the evidence deep in their memory. This reaction comes from schools and workplaces that punish mistakes instead of studying them for lessons. But burning your someday calendar requires a completely different relationship with things that do not work out. You need to become a curious scientist who studies your failures instead of a scared child who hides from them. When something you try does not work, you have not failed at all in the bigger picture. You have simply collected data about what does not work, which is just as valuable as success. This is what I call ash analysis, looking at what remains after the fire and learning from every little piece. Think about how a real scientist reacts when an experiment does not produce the expected result. That scientist does not cry and throw away all their equipment because they feel like a fool or a loser. Instead, they write down what happened, change one small thing, and run the experiment again with curiosity. They know that every failed attempt is just another wrong answer crossed off a very long list of possibilities. The same approach will transform how you feel when your messy first steps do not lead where you hoped. You tried to write every morning, but you only did it twice before giving up completely. Instead of feeling ashamed, Ask yourself what the ashes of that attempt can teach you going forward. Maybe mornings are too busy, but afternoons might work better for your creative energy to flow freely. Here is the exact process for doing ash analysis after something you try does not work at all. First, take a deep breath and remind yourself that this is data, not a judgment of your worth as a human. Second, write down what you tried to do in one simple sentence without adding any emotional language to it. Third, write down what actually happened instead, again with just the facts and no self-criticism allowed. Fourth, ask yourself what got in the way and list 3 possible reasons without deciding which one is correct. Fifth, ask yourself what you would change if you tried the same thing again tomorrow morning instead. Sixth, ask yourself what you learned about yourself that you did not know before you tried this failure. Seventh, thank the failure for teaching you something that success would never have shown you so clearly. Eighth, decide whether you want to try again with one small change, or try something completely different instead. The beauty of ash analysis is that it removes the emotional pain from things that do not work out perfectly. When you see a failure as just a pile of ashes to study, you stop feeling like a bad person. You become a detective searching for clues instead of a criminal being punished for a terrible crime. This shift in perspective changes everything because it removes the fear of trying new things at all. Most people stay stuck in someday because they are terrified of how failure will make them look or feel. But if failure is just ash analysis, then there is nothing scary about trying and falling down at all. You can try something bold on Monday, study the ashes on Tuesday, and try again on Wednesday with new knowledge. This speed of learning is how people go from beginners to skilled creators faster than anyone expects them to. Many successful people actually celebrate their failures because each one brings them closer to what works. Thomas Edison famously said he found 10,000 ways that did not work before finding the light bulb. Each wrong way was not a failure but a necessary step on the path to the final working version. You can adopt this same mindset for your small actions as you burn your someday calendar piece by piece. Every time you try to write and end up staring at a blank page, you learn something about your creative process. Every time you try to exercise and quit after 5 minutes, you learn something about what kind of movement you enjoy. Every time you try to start a conversation and it gets awkward, you learn something about connecting with people. None of these are failures because they all give you ashes that contain valuable information for your next try. The only real failure is not trying at all and keeping your dream locked forever in someday prison. Your ash analysis challenge is to fail at something on purpose this week to practice the skill of learning. Choose something small that you have been afraid to try because you might look silly doing it. It could be singing loudly in your car, dancing badly in your kitchen, or wearing an outfit you love but feel shy about. Do that thing and notice how it feels to be imperfect in front of yourself or maybe other people. Then sit down with a piece of paper and do the 8 steps of ash analysis from earlier in this chapter. Write down what you learned about fear, about judgment, and about your own courage to try something new. You will probably discover that the failure was not nearly as bad as your imagination predicted it would be. That discovery is worth more than 1,000 easy successes because it sets you free from fear forever. Burn the someday calendar, study the ashes, and then light another match with a smile on your face. Chapter 10. Burn one small someday today. This chapter is different from all the others because it asks you to stop reading and start doing something real. You have read 9 chapters of ideas and encouragement, but ideas alone never burned any calendars at all. The only thing that burns a someday calendar is action, even action that feels too small to matter much. So this chapter is a hands-on workshop that will take you about 20 minutes to complete fully. You are going to pick one dream from your someday list and take one real step toward it. That step will not finish your dream or even make a huge amount of obvious progress toward it, but it will prove to your brain that someday is a liar and that you can act right now. And that proof is more valuable than reading 100 more chapters without moving your feet at all. Step 1 is to identify one specific dream that has been living on your someday calendar for too long. Do not choose the biggest dream or the most important one because that might feel too heavy to start. Choose a medium dream, something you care about but that does not make your hands shake with fear. Maybe you have been wanting to learn a new language, organize your closet, or start a small side project. Maybe you have been wanting to call a relative, write a thank you note, or clean out your email inbox. The size does not matter as much as the fact that you have been saying someday to this task for weeks or months. Write the dream down on a piece of paper or a note on your phone so it becomes real and solid. You are about to take this dream out of someday and drop it into today where it belongs forever. Step 2 is to break that dream down into the smallest possible first action you can imagine taking. If your dream is to learn Spanish, the smallest action might be downloading a free language app right now. If your dream is to organize your closet, the smallest action might be taking everything out and putting it on your bed. If your dream is to start a side project, the smallest action might be writing down 3 names for it. The action must be so small that it feels almost stupid to call it progress toward a real dream. It should take no more than 5 minutes because longer than that gives your brain time to make excuses. You are not trying to finish the dream today, just to touch it with your own 2 hands for once. Write down that tiny action next to the dream you wrote in step 1 a moment ago. Step 3 is to clear away anything that might stop you from taking this tiny action in the next 10 minutes. Put your phone on silent or in another room so notifications do not steal your attention away. Close any extra tabs on your computer that might tempt you to click over to something more comfortable. Tell anyone near you that you need 5 minutes of quiet to do something important for yourself. Use the bathroom, get some water, and do anything else your brain might use as an excuse to delay. Your brain is very creative at finding last-minute reasons to push this action back to someday again. Anticipate those excuses and remove them before they have a chance to grab hold of your attention. You are creating a clean path between you and your tiny action with no obstacles in the way at all. Step 4 is to set a timer for 5 minutes on your phone and start the tiny action without thinking too much. Do not judge whether you are doing it right or wrong, because there is no wrong way to start. Do not worry about whether this action is the best possible action you could be taking right now. Do not compare yourself to people who are further along or who seem to have more talent than you do. Just move your hands and your body and your attention toward the action you wrote down a moment ago. Let the timer run while you do the thing, even if you feel silly or scared or uncomfortable doing it. When the timer rings, you are allowed to stop completely or keep going if you feel like continuing. Most people find that starting is the hard part and continuing feels surprisingly easy after the first few minutes. Step 5 is to celebrate what you just did with genuine joy and without any cruel self-talk at all. You just took a dream out of someday and dropped it into today where real life actually happens. That is a huge victory, no matter how small the action might look to anyone watching you do it. Say out loud to yourself, "I just burned one someday and I am proud of myself for doing it." Send a message to your accountability friend telling them what you did, even if it feels silly to share. Write a check mark on your calendar or put a star on the paper where you wrote your dream down. Notice how your body feels different now than it did before you took this tiny action today. You have proven something important to yourself, and that proof will make tomorrow's action easier to take. One small someday burn today, and many more will follow because you have broken the spell of waiting forever. Chapter 11: The Spotlight Trap. Many people never start their dreams because they imagine a giant spotlight shining down on their failures. They believe that everyone is watching them, judging them, and waiting for them to mess up badly. This belief is a trap that keeps you small and safe, but also keeps your someday calendar very full. The truth is that most people are far too busy with their own lives to watch yours very closely. They are worried about their own spotlights, their own failures, and their own someday calendars full of dust. The spotlight you feel is mostly in your own head, shining on fears that exist only in your imagination. Other people might glance at you for a second, but then they go back to their own worries immediately after. You are not the main character in their story, and that is actually wonderful news for your freedom. Think about the last time someone else did something embarrassing in public, like tripping or saying something awkward. How long did you think about that person's mistake before you forgot about it completely? You probably forgot within a few minutes because your brain went back to thinking about your own life instead. The same thing happens when you are the one who trips or says something awkward in front of other people. They might laugh for a second, but then they forget and move on while you stay stuck in the memory for days. You are giving your own mistakes way more attention than anyone else in the entire world will ever give them. This is called the spotlight effect, and it is one of the biggest traps keeping your dreams locked in someday. Once you see the trap clearly, you can stop caring so much about what imaginary audiences might think of you. The people who achieve their dreams are not less afraid of the spotlight than you are at all. They feel the same fear of looking foolish, being judged, or failing in public for everyone to see. The difference is that they have decided that their dreams matter more than the temporary discomfort of being watched. They know that the spotlight feels hot for a moment, but then it moves on to someone else very soon after. They have also noticed that the people who judge the loudest are usually the ones doing nothing with their own lives. Why would you let someone who is too scared to try anything tell you what you should or should not do? Their judgment is not about you, but about their own fear of stepping into the spotlight themselves. You can feel compassion for their fear without letting it stop you from chasing what makes you come alive. Here is a powerful mental trick that helps you escape the spotlight trap in just a few seconds. When you feel like everyone is watching and judging you, imagine them sitting on their own toilets at home. Picture your boss sitting there, your neighbor sitting there, and that mean person from high school sitting there too. This ridiculous image works because it reminds you that everyone is just a normal human with normal human problems. They poop, they worry, they fail, and they forget about you 5 minutes after they think about you at all. No one is sitting on a throne of perfect judgment waiting to destroy your dreams with their opinions. They are all just trying to get through their own days without too much embarrassment or pain or boredom. Take them off the pedestal you have built in your mind and see them as the messy humans they truly are. Once you see this clearly, the spotlight dims and finally turns off completely. Many people worry specifically about what people on social media will think of their work and their dreams. But social media is the biggest spotlight trap of all because it shows only highlights and never shows the mess. You see people's best photos, best moments, and best achievements while hiding their failures and struggles. This makes you think that everyone else is perfect, and you are the only one who is messy and scared. The truth is that everyone on social media is curating a fake version of their life for public viewing. The people posting perfect workout videos also have days when they cannot get off the couch at all. The people posting beautiful art also have drawers full of ugly drawings that nobody will ever see. The people posting about their successful businesses also had years of failure before anything worked at all. Do not compare your behind-the-scenes mess to someone else's carefully edited highlight reel on a screen. Your escape from the spotlight trap starts with doing something slightly embarrassing on purpose this week. Post something imperfect online, sing where someone might hear you, or wear something that makes you nervous. Notice what actually happens compared to what your fearful imagination predicted would happen instead. You will probably discover that almost nobody notices, and the few who do forget within minutes. The embarrassment you feel is real, but it passes quickly, and you survive just fine on the other side. Each time you test the spotlight and find that it does not burn you, the trap loses more power. Eventually, you stop caring about the imaginary audience altogether and start focusing on your work instead. That freedom is what allows you to burn your someday calendar completely and build the life you actually want. The spotlight was never as bright as you feared, and now you are finally free to dance in the dark. Chapter 12: Everyday Arsonist Habits. Burning your someday calendar once feels amazing, But the calendar has a sneaky way of growing back. You wake up one morning and realize that someday has crept back into your vocabulary without you noticing. This happens because your brain loves the comfort of postponing hard things until some imaginary later date. To stop this cycle forever, you need to become an everyday arsonist with small daily habits. An everyday arsonist is someone who lights tiny fires of action every single day without waiting for motivation. They do not rely on willpower or perfect conditions or big dramatic moments of inspiration at all. They have built simple habits that automatically move them forward even on their lowest energy days. These habits are so small that they feel almost invisible, but together they burn the someday calendar permanently. The first habit of the everyday arsonist is the 2-minute morning question asked before checking any screens. When you wake up, ask yourself, what is one tiny thing I can do today for a dream I care about? Do not plan the whole week or think about big projects that might overwhelm you completely. Just identify one small action that takes 2 minutes or less and belongs to a dream you have been avoiding. It could be opening the document, putting on your shoes, or writing down one sentence on a sticky note. The action does not have to be impressive or even useful in the big picture of your entire life. It just has to be real and doable and connected to a dream that matters to your heart somehow. Ask this question every morning until it becomes as automatic as brushing your teeth without thinking. This one habit alone will change everything because it keeps your dreams in front of your face every single day. The second habit of the everyday arsonist is the 1-minute evening review done right before you go to sleep. Look back at your day and notice if you actually did the tiny action you asked yourself about in the morning. If you did it, spend 1 minute feeling proud and maybe writing down a check mark on a simple calendar. If you did not do it, spend 1 minute asking why without judging yourself harshly at all. Maybe you forgot, maybe you got too busy, or maybe fear stopped you from taking that tiny step forward. Write down one small change you could make tomorrow to make the action easier to complete on time. Then forgive yourself completely and go to sleep, because tomorrow is a new day to try again. This evening review trains your brain to care about your dreams consistently without any shame or pressure involved. Over time, your brain starts to see your dreams as everyday priorities, instead of someday fantasies that never arrive. The third habit of the everyday arsonist is the weekly ash review that takes about 10 minutes each Sunday. Look back at the past 7 days and count how many tiny actions you actually managed to complete. Do not focus on the ones you missed because that only creates shame that slows you down next week. Instead, look for patterns in what made the successful days work better than the unsuccessful days. Maybe you did better on days when you wrote your tiny action down on a sticky note on your desk. Maybe you did worse on days when you waited until evening to do your action instead of morning. Use these patterns to design a better system for next week without blaming yourself for past failures. This ash review turns your imperfect efforts into a learning laboratory that constantly improves your habits. You become a scientist of your own behavior, and scientists do not judge. They just observe and adjust calmly. The fourth habit of the everyday arsonist is the environmental design that makes action easy and inaction hard. Look around your living space and notice what makes it difficult to do your tiny actions every day. Maybe your guitar is in the closet where you cannot see it, so you forget to practice at all. Maybe your running shoes are buried under shoes, so going for a run feels like a big, annoying project. Move your tools for your dreams into plain sight where you cannot avoid looking at them every single day. Put your notebook on your pillow so you have to move it before you can go to sleep at night. Put your sneakers next to your bed so you trip over them when you wake up in the morning to start your day. Put your art supplies on your kitchen table so you see them while you eat breakfast every single morning. These small design changes take almost no effort but make your dreams impossible to ignore completely. The final habit of the everyday arsonist is the 10-second rule for moments when you feel resistance rising up. When you notice yourself hesitating to do your tiny action for the day, count down from 10 out loud. Say 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then move your body immediately. This countdown interrupts the part of your brain that makes excuses and tries to protect you from discomfort. By the time you reach 1, your logical brain has taken over from your scared brain for just long enough. You do not need to feel motivated or brave or ready. You just need to move automatically without thinking. After you move, you can decide whether to continue, but the hardest part of starting is already behind you. Practice this 10-second rule every time you feel resistance, and it will become a reflex that saves you daily. Become an everyday arsonist with these 5 habits, and your someday calendar will never grow back again. Chapter 13. Permission to change your mind. Many people keep chasing old dreams long after those dreams stopped making them feel happy or alive. They feel trapped because they told everyone they were going to do something specific with their lives. They feel ashamed to admit that what they wanted at 20 is not what they want at 30 now. This fear of changing your mind is another reason your someday calendar stays full of dead dreams. You keep saying someday to an old goal that does not even spark joy in your chest anymore. But burning your someday calendar also means burning the guilt about changing what you truly want. You are allowed to grow, shift, and completely abandon old dreams without any explanation or apology. The person who started this book is not the same person finishing it, and that is wonderful news. Think about how strange it would be if you still liked all the same foods you liked as a child. You would be eating chicken nuggets and chocolate milk for every single meal as a grown adult. But nobody expects you to keep the same food preferences because everyone knows that tastes change with time and experience. The same rule should apply to your dreams, your goals, and the things you want from your life. It is not failure to stop wanting something you used to want very badly in the past. It is growth, and growth is the entire point of being alive and paying attention to your own heart. You do not owe your past self any loyalty because that past self did not know what you know today. Give yourself full permission to change your mind without any drama, guilt, or long explanations to anyone at all. The problem is that most people treat their stated goals like sacred vows that cannot ever be broken or revised. They write down a goal, tell their friends about it, and then feel trapped by those words forever after. This is why so many people stay in careers they hate, relationships that drain them, and hobbies that bore them completely. They would rather be miserable than look like someone who changed their mind in front of other people watching. But looking like someone who changes their mind is actually a sign of wisdom, not weakness at all. Wise people update their beliefs when they get new information, including new information about what makes them happy. Stubborn people cling to old plans long after those plans have stopped serving any useful purpose at all. Be wise, not stubborn, and give yourself the freedom to burn old dreams without burning yourself with shame. Here is a simple permission exercise that will free you from any old dream that feels like a heavy weight. Take a piece of paper and write down every dream or goal that you have been carrying for more than 1 year without action. Do not judge whether these dreams are good or bad. Just write them all down in a simple list without thinking. Next to each dream, write down how you feel when you imagine actually achieving that dream right now. Does your chest feel light and excited, or does it feel heavy and tired like a chore you must do? If the feeling is heavy or tired, give yourself permission to remove that dream from your someday calendar completely. You are not quitting. You are clearing space for dreams that actually make your heart beat faster with joy. You can thank the old dream for teaching you something and then let it go with love and kindness. This is not failure, it is gardening, and gardens need old plants removed to make room for new growth. Many people worry that if they change their mind too often, they will never achieve anything important at all. They think that commitment means never changing direction, even when the evidence says a new direction is better. But real commitment is not about staying on a dead path just because you started walking on it. Real commitment is about staying true to your happiness and your growth, even when that means turning around. The most successful people in any field have changed their minds hundreds of times along their journeys. They started one thing, learned from it, and then pivoted to something else that fit them better now. This is not indecision, it is responsiveness to reality, and responsiveness is how you win at anything. So stop fearing that changing your mind makes you flaky or unreliable or weak in any way. It makes you flexible, and flexible things do not break when the wind starts blowing hard against them. Your permission exercise for this chapter is to officially drop one old dream that has been weighing you down. Choose the dream that feels heaviest when you think about it, the one that feels like a homework assignment. Say out loud to yourself, I give myself full permission to stop wanting this thing forever and ever. Then tear up any notes you have written about that dream, or delete any files saved on your computer about it. Feel the relief in your chest as the weight lifts off your shoulders and disappears into the air around you. Then look around at the empty space you just created for a new dream to grow in its place. You do not need to find that new dream today. Just enjoy the feeling of spaciousness and freedom instead. You have burned another page of your someday calendar, but this time the fire feels like a gentle, warm breeze. Change your mind as often as you need to, because your only job is to become more fully yourself every single day. Chapter 14. Fireproof Your Now. After burning so many pages of your someday calendar, you might feel amazing and full of new energy. But the world around you will keep trying to rebuild that calendar without your permission at all. Advertisements will tell you that you need to wait for the right product before you start your dream. Friends and family will tell you to be careful and not rush into things that might not work out perfectly. Your own old habits will whisper that tomorrow is a better day to begin than this messy today. You need to fireproof your now so that someday cannot sneak back into your life again. Fireproofing means building small walls of action that protect your present moment from future excuses. You do this by making your now so full of tiny movements that there is no room for waiting. The best defense against someday is a now that is already busy becoming what you used to only dream about. The first way to fireproof your now is to stop using the word someday in your vocabulary completely. Every time you catch yourself saying or thinking the word someday, stop and correct yourself out loud. Replace someday with a specific time like today at 3 p.m. or tomorrow morning before breakfast. This small language change forces your brain to treat your dream as a real appointment instead of a fantasy. You would never tell a doctor that you will schedule your appointment someday because that sounds ridiculous. Treat your dreams with the same respect you treat a dentist appointment or a work meeting you cannot miss. The words you use shape the reality you live in, so banish someday from your mouth forever. This one change alone will fireproof your now more than any other single action you can take. The second way to fireproof your now is to create visual reminders that you cannot ignore no matter how hard you try. Put a sticky note on your bathroom mirror that says, "Today is the only day that exists right now." Set your phone wallpaper to an image that represents a dream you are actively working on this week. Write your tiny weekly actions on your hand or your arm so you see them every time you wash your hands. Put a rubber band on your wrist and snap it gently whenever you catch yourself planning to wait for later. These visual reminders interrupt your brain's automatic pattern of pushing things off to an imaginary future. They keep your dreams literally in front of your face, where you cannot pretend they do not exist at all. You are training your environment to fight for your now, instead of letting your brain wander off into someday. A fireproof now is surrounded by reminders that today is all you have, so today is when you act. The third way to fireproof your now is to build a daily ritual that anchors your actions to a specific time each day. Choose a time that already exists in your schedule, like right after brushing your teeth or making coffee. Attach your tiny dream action to that existing habit so you do not have to remember to do something new. For example, after you brush your teeth in the morning, you immediately write one sentence of your book. For example, after you make your coffee, you immediately stretch your body for 2 minutes without any thinking. For example, before you check your phone, you immediately say out loud one thing you will do today. These anchors make your action automatic so you do not waste energy deciding whether to do it or not. The decision is already made because the ritual says after happens, B must happen right away. This removes the chance for your brain to argue about timing or readiness or fear at all. A fireproof now runs on rituals, not on willpower, because willpower runs out but rituals run forever. The fourth way to fireproof your now is to track your actions in a way that feels satisfying and rewarding to see. Buy a simple calendar or print a blank grid of the current month on a piece of paper. Each day that you complete your tiny action, draw a big red X through that day on the calendar. Do not break the chain of red X's because your brain will hate seeing a blank space in the middle. This method, made famous by comedian Jerry Seinfeld, turns your actions into a game you want to keep playing. You are not trying to be perfect or never miss a day because life happens and you will miss sometimes. But the visual of a long chain of X's will pull you to act even on days when you feel zero motivation. A fireproof now does not need motivation because it has a chain it does not want to break today. Try this for 30 days and watch how your now becomes stronger than any someday that tries to return. Your final fireproofing challenge is to look at the next 7 days and schedule your tiny actions like appointments. Open your calendar app or a piece of paper and write down a specific time for each action this week. Monday at 8 a.m., Tuesday at 12 p.m., Wednesday at 5 p.m., Thursday at 7 a.m., and so on for 7 days. Treat these appointments as seriously as you would treat a meeting with your boss or your doctor right now. Do not let yourself cancel unless there is a real emergency that absolutely cannot wait until later. When the time comes, drop whatever you are doing and take your 5 minutes of action immediately. After 7 days, notice how different you feel compared to 7 days ago before you started fireproofing. You have built a now that is stronger than someday, and that strength will carry you through anything. Burn the someday calendar one last time and watch the flames dance as you step into a life without later. Chapter 15. Leave a pile of warm ashes. You have made it to the final chapter of this book, and you are not the same person who started reading. You have learned that someday is a lie, that sparks matter more than goals, and that tiny actions beat big plans. You have discovered how to use the 5-minute rule, build messy first steps, and heal paper cuts from your calendar. You have found accountability friends, studied your ashes, and given yourself permission to change your mind completely. You have fireproofed your now and become an everyday arsonist who lights small fires constantly. Now it is time to look ahead and ask what kind of ashes you want to leave behind in this life. The ashes of your burned someday calendar are not trash to throw away with no thought at all. They are proof that you lived, that you tried, and that you refuse to wait for permission to become yourself. Think about what you want people to say about you when you are no longer here on this earth. Do you want them to say that you were safe, careful, and never embarrassed yourself by trying anything new? Or do you want them to say that you lived fully, failed often, and left a pile of warm ashes behind you? The people we remember and love are rarely the ones who played it safe and kept their dreams hidden forever. They are the ones who tried, who stumbled, who got back up, and who tried again with a laugh. They are the ones who burned their someday calendars while others were still waiting for perfect conditions to arrive. You get to choose which story gets told about your life, and you get to start writing that story today. The pile of warm ashes you leave will tell future generations that you were brave enough to start, and your courage might inspire someone else to burn their own someday calendar because they saw you do it first. Your life will still have hard days, disappointments, and moments when you want to give up on everything. The someday calendar might try to grow back during those hard times when you feel tired and hopeless. But now you have tools that you did not have before you read this book from start to finish. You have the 5-minute rule, the weekly plan, the accountability friend, and the ash analysis method ready. You have permission to change your mind, permission to fail loudly, and permission to start over as many times as needed. The warm ashes of your old someday calendar will always be there to remind you of what you burned. And when you see those ashes, You will remember that you are someone who takes action now. You are no longer someone who waits, hopes, and pushes dreams to a tomorrow that never seems to come. You are a person who lights matches, and that person gets to live a completely different kind of life. Here is what your life looks like when someday does not live there anymore, starting right now. You wake up each morning and ask your 2-minute question about what tiny action you will take today. You take that action, even when it feels silly or scary or too small to matter in the big picture. You check in with your accountability friend and share your wins and your struggles without any shame at all. You study your ashes when things do not work and use what you learn to try again differently. You give yourself permission to change your mind whenever a dream stops feeling like a spark in your chest. You fireproof your now with rituals, reminders, and chains of red X's on your simple calendar. And at the end of each week, you look back at a pile of warm ashes and feel proud of every single one. This is not a fantasy future. This is a real life that you can start living when you close this book. The truth is that you have already started living this life the moment you took your first tiny action. Maybe you wrote one sentence, made one phone call, or sent one email that you had been avoiding for months. Maybe you told someone your dream out loud for the first time without adding the word someday at the end. Maybe you simply finished this book, which is an action that proves you can commit to something important. All of these are warm ashes that prove you are becoming someone new and different and braver. Do not let the perfect be the enemy of the done, because done is what actually changes your real life. A messy done is infinitely better than a perfect someday that never leaves your head at all. So take a breath, feel proud of how far you have come, and get ready for the conclusion ahead. But do not close this book yet, because the final words are the most important matches you will light. Before you turn to the conclusion, I want you to do one more thing for yourself right now. Look around the room where you are sitting and find something that represents a dream you have been holding. It could be a guitar in the corner, a notebook on the shelf, or a pair of running shoes by the door. Touch that object with your hand and say out loud, "I am done waiting for someday to start you." Then make a specific plan to touch that object again tomorrow with action, not just with your hand. Write down that plan on a sticky note and put it somewhere you cannot miss when you wake up. You have 15 chapters of tools and courage inside you now, so use them starting today without any delay. The warm ashes of your old life will feel sad for a moment, and then they will feel like freedom. Freedom is the feeling of having nothing left to wait for because you are already becoming what you dreamed. Now turn the page, read the conclusion, and then go light your biggest match yet with a smile. Conclusion. You have reached the end of this book, but your real work is only beginning right now. The someday calendar that once ruled your life is now a pile of warm ashes at your feet, and that is exactly where it belongs. Do not look back at those ashes with sadness or regret for all the time you spent waiting. Look at them with pride because you chose to stop waiting and start moving toward what matters to your heart. The tools you have learned are simple, but simple does not mean easy, and easy is not what you came here for. You came here to become someone who acts, someone who fails and learns, someone who burns calendars and builds dreams. That person is already inside you. And now you have given that person permission to lead your life every single day. So close this book, take a deep breath, and go light a match that will warm you for the rest of your life. Remember that you do not need to be perfect, ready, or fearless to begin anything that matters to you. You just need to be willing to take one tiny step, then another without stopping to ask for permission. Some days you will take big steps, and some days you will barely move at all, and both are perfectly fine. The only failure is the failure to try, the failure to start, the failure to burn just one small someday today. You have already proven that you can start because you finished this book, and finishing is a form of starting something new. So go start that business, write that book, make that art, have that conversation, and live that life you have been saving. Your someday calendar is gone, and in its place is a wide open now that belongs completely to you. Burn bright, burn bold, and never let anyone hand you another calendar that says someday on it again.